Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commerce Today. Been talking for a few weeks now about all the different people that are coming for your e-commerce profit margin. So the new tariffs, the PCI compliance hopefully isn't coming for your profit margin. Hopefully you are already being secure and you're not being fined, but then also the sales tax increases. We're going to round out this 4 episode mini series on compliance and taxes and fees with surviving the 2025 USPS rate hike. So you may have noticed over the past month or so that if you're shipping via USPS, your bill suddenly got higher. So you are not imagining that. USPS raised rates again, and this was a big one. It was an average of 7.4%, and it's really impacting any and all e-commerce sellers that ship anything via USPS. As an individual, you might have noticed that, hey, the forever stamp jumped from 73 cents to 78 cents. More importantly for e-commerce, though, priority mail went up 6.3%, and it varies based on if you're looking at flat rate, envelope, small flat rate box, medium flat rate box. But I can't believe that medium flat rate box is now almost $20 for priority mail. It went up to $19.15. USPS Ground Advantage. This is a few older services that they bundled together, such as the old first class mail parcel. These rates went up 7.1%. So if your package weighs 4 ounces or less, it's now $5.25 to send it via this method. It used to be a lot less than that. If you look over the past 10, 15 years, it's a lot more than just a 7% annualized increase. Also, there's new surcharges. There's a lot of new surcharges around non-standard characteristics or long dimensions, and these incur fees per package of $4 to $18. Really, the only good news in all of this is if you're using USPS postal insurance, which I haven't run into an e-commerce seller actually using this in years. That might relate to this change they made. But if you are using it, that price actually went down. They lowered the cost of insuring a mail parcel through USPS by 12%. Now, why are the prices rising? You may know, especially if you ship via USPS, that USPS is this weird commercial quasi-governmental entity. They are involved with the government, I guess is the best way to put it, but they are not funded by the government. USPS runs as a separate private entity for financial purposes. They lost $9.5 billion in fiscal year 2024. They have really called out that the main reason they're losing money is that mail volume has dropped 68% since 2007. They say due to digital communication. They're actually projecting losses of $160 billion over the next 10 years. They're trying to close that gap. Now, if you follow USPS price hikes like I do, I know I do these real fun things so y'all don't have to, but if you follow them and have followed them for some time, you might know that there's some things hiding in those numbers, and there's some things they're not calling out in the press releases. And the biggest thing is fixed costs are actually what is dragging the United States Postal Service down. And specifically, there is a requirement that the U.S. government has that the United States Postal Service pre-funds their pension fund, their retirement. And they offer a great retirement from what I've heard. It is not cheap. And unlike private businesses that are able to fund those contributions in a lot of different ways, USPS is actually expected to put the money up front years before that employee actually draws from the pension. So that's where a majority of their loss comes from. So they like to talk about the falling volumes and say they're doing everything they can. Really, the biggest aspect of this, though, is due to that governmental requirement on their pension fund. They've been trying to get that requirement removed for what feels like decades now, may actually be decades at this point, and the government's not budging. So that's the challenge here, and that is why they keep raising rates every year and will continue to do. I feel like the other reason they're raising rates is USPS, UPS, FedEx. It's not a monopoly. What would that be? A triopoly? They're the 3 companies that you can go to for nationwide shipping, and they know it. And when one raises their rates, the others do as well. It's not price fixing, but yeah, the rates are all pretty close to each other. So yeah, they will continue to do this. Also, you might think, oh, 7% increase. That's not that bad. How many other things have gone up by 7% this year in your e-commerce business? Think of the new tariffs, think of the new sales tax increases, think of all those little things. Now, if you've been offering free or flat rate shipping, especially free shipping, and you haven't done the math in a while, this is another area where you could be leaking a lot of profit out of your e-commerce business and your e-commerce operations due to this increase. So, mention that medium flat rate box being almost $20. You ship just 100 of those a week. Now suddenly you have lost $75. That's a $75 increase basically in your costs. Also, those surcharges. Packages over 22 inches now get a $4 fee. So you absolutely need to reevaluate your packaging. And by the way, try to do that before the holiday season and with the new tariffs in place. So I hope that your packaging is sourced from within the US and is not using any materials from overseas. Fun times, isn't it, to be an e-commerce merchant? Now, some strategies to offset this hike. Audit your shipping profile, look at which USPS services you use the most, calculate the impact of new rates. Look at, do you want to shift some shipments to UPS or FedEx? Again, lots of times you're not going to see a big savings there. However, where you might be able to see a big savings is shifting to regional shipping carriers. So do an analysis, see where a majority of your shipments are going, and then evaluate, are there regional carriers that you could use in those areas? If your head's spinning, you're thinking, I don't want to deal with all that, now is a great time to also look at a third-party logistics service. I have a few different people I can refer you to that would be more than happy to do a quick free consult for you and actually look at what are your options there, how could you potentially save money or at least offset this 7% hike in the USPS rates. Also, use multi-carrier tools. Used to, when I first got started in e-commerce long ago, e-commerce business would pick UPS or FedEx typically, negotiate a big multi-year contract, agree to shift all of their shipping volume to that one carrier. They'd get software, they'd get printers, they'd get labels, they would get great rates. It would be wonderful. That loyalty and that rewarding that loyalty just doesn't happen anymore. So I highly recommend you use software that prices out your shipments across all of those services, USPS, UPS, FedEx, and ideally even those regional carriers I mentioned, and just use the cheapest one that will reliably deliver the package in the time frame you have promised the customer. This is where companies like ShipperHQ can be a huge help. They have solved this problem. They have the software for this. I know ShipStation is another tool that is used a lot for this. Really, depending on your needs, there are a lot of ways that you can leverage a multi-carrier setup to make sure you're just always sending things the most cost-effective way possible. And this is where I found a lot of businesses don't realize, for instance, instead of selling first class, or not first class mail, but USPS ground standard, priority mail, express mail, UPS overnight, instead of selling those exact services on your website, if you offer shipping options based on how fast it gets there, so next day delivery, 2-day delivery, 3-day delivery, saver delivery, things like that, you offer that, lots of times this software can actually look and see and say, hey, this is a customer that ground, whether it's UPS ground or USPS ground advantage, can actually get it there next day because they're located in the same state or in the same city in some cases as your warehouse that you're shipping from. You don't need to spend the money on an overnight service in that case. So this is where you really have to be smart about your shipping in 2025. Also, make sure you optimize your packaging. Mentioned a while back in the episode on those new laws in California and some other states about how you're going to have to start paying basically a tax on non-recyclable packaging, that you need to look at lighter materials. You need to look at right sizing your boxes. Not only will that help you with those fees, but that will help you with these non-standard surcharges. It'll reduce your dimensional weight. It's really starting to add up and can really make a difference in your margins and in the profitability of your e-commerce business. Also, make sure you've trained your fulfillment team on the importance of cutting down on excess packaging. I think anybody that has ordered more than a few items from Amazon has at least one example of the small product shipped in the really large box with 3 inner boxes, sometimes even. Don't be those people. Don't be that fulfillment center. Make sure that your team understands that it's not just for the environment or for the user experience, the customer experience. It's actually to reduce your costs. It's important to ship in the right size box without excess packaging. Definitely reevaluate your free shipping offers, but especially before the holiday season. Make sure you may want to raise your free shipping threshold. You may want to add some restrictions to it, or you might just want to switch from free to flat rate shipping to make sure that you are not giving away too much money on those free shipping promotions. And finally, communicate with your customers. If you have raised your shipping prices due to this increase from USPS, let them know why the shipping prices have changed. This isn't you trying to make more money. This is USPS trying to lose less money. Also, remind them of other options. If you have stores or if you can partner with stores to offer local pickup, lots of times you can offer that for free or for a lot less of an expense than shipping. So definitely try to move customers towards those omni-channel solutions. That is it for the USPS rate increase. They raised those rates by 7.4%. There were significant increases across all mail classes, and you have those new surcharges to deal with. Remember, though, you have options. Just because you've always shipped USPS doesn't mean you have to keep shipping that way. Definitely look at ways that you can offer other carriers. If you would like to talk to somebody that can help you optimize your logistics, shipping, fulfillment, your packaging, all that great stuff, maybe you're curious about what Shipper HQ can do for your business, please reach out to me. My name is Joshua Warren. You can find me on LinkedIn with a Creativity Gold background behind my headshot. You can send me a DM there. You can actually, from my LinkedIn bio, schedule a free 30-minute e-commerce consult. Would love to help you sort out your shipping challenges and make sure that shipping is adding to the customer experience and not just taking away from your profit margins. Thanks, and I hope to see you again next week for another episode of Commerce Today.